Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy BigBlackCrypto, and I'm kind of torn right now because I was working on another project and I accidentally saved over an essay that I was working on, but I remember the gist of it, and it's unfortunate. Maybe at some point I'll revisit and write it, but the premise of it was on economic determinants and sovereignty of self, and it's something that stemmed on from years ago that I'd wanted, a certain level of autonomy and control, centricity, agency of self, and the governance that comes with that, and being a free person and being able to make certain decisions. So, when I speak of cryptocurrency and why it's of value to people and why people take an interest of it, because one thing that I've highlighted before in other, you know, circles is that, with $1 you can make $100. You can buy a piece of a cake as opposed to having to, buy the whole thing, right? And this is where people kind of get torn, right? In understanding that it's the whole of sum versus the sum of a whole, and that's really where crypto has an edge over traditional, forms of investment. Your bank's never gonna invite you in to come, you know, generate more money. And as dumb as that sounds, like traditional banking should have always done that, should have always encouraged people to come in. Part of a healthy economy is people participating in the economy, but the reality is that people aren't being brought in to participate in their economy. I speak from experience. Um, I banked with my bank for 16 years and never once was that a discussion. Aside from trying to sell me a financial service, there was never ever going to be an opportunity where I got to have more control and to own and to trade stocks. And as unfortunate as that was, that's how, for me, that's the, big banking did it to itself. And that's kind of why traditional banking is dead to me. More than anything, I view it as a utility, a service, an in and out. You handle the volume, but you don't have the control. You don't own me. And, it's even more personal than that, right? Like, institutions shouldn't be predatory in nature. They shouldn't be waiting till you turn 18 to hand you a credit card. And they shouldn't be handing you a credit card when you don't have a job at the time. And, unfortunately, you're more likely to get credit and wreck your credit when you don't feel like, you can go to anyone to have that discussion, because no one's probably had that discussion with you on what credit is. So this is another an shortcoming of the education system. And it's not really unique to people here in Canada or Toronto. I think that's, an issue in many places across the world. So if you're in an education system where you don't learn how to do your taxes, where you don't learn how to do, financial math, and you're not able to calculate, you know, things that would benefit you in regards to wealth accumulation, you're not here to sort of just exist as, an employee, or, as to live and die as a member of the renting class. Those are options at this point, knowing that less than 1% of the world is trading in crypto. Let me say that one more time, right? Less than 1% of the world is trading in crypto. So for those who are in, less than advantageous situations, or, enduring turbulence, economic hardship, you know, that's been pandemic and lockdown induced, this is a great way to flip the paradigm and to see the beauty that's still there, right? In things that have changed. But crypto isn't for everybody, right? Like, if you don't handle volatility well, how are you going to handle, a market that's full of volatility? And this is where that, economic determinants comes into play, right? Those who want to be in control, who want to to accumulate a certain level of wealth, will find value in making the time to understand the investments that are available to them and the technologies being had. To, touch on, what economic determinants is, it's really, it's trying to find the right words, to describe it. So I had to look it up just because I wanted to be concise in the understanding that you would have, and so we could, arrive at, a global consensus. And economic determinism can be described as a socio-economic theory that economic relationships, such as being an owner or capitalist or being a worker or proletarian, are the foundation upon which all other societal and political arrangements in society are based. And I want to be in a position where I can grow my own apple orchard. When I say apple orchard, I'm not saying apple as in APPLE. I'm talking apple orchard as in APPL. Like, what would it take for you to position yourself to, own $1 trillion company? And that's how you need to start thinking. That's how you need to start, preparing yourself, because by the time you've gotten your paycheck, your money was worth more at 5 a.m. and it's probably worth double its value at 4 a.m. than it's worth at 4 p.m. And so you're going to be stuck as renting class. And, I don't say slave class, but renting class, simply because, that really does create a barrier to home ownership and to self-sufficiency and what you'd be able to put away comfortably for your retirement. So, it's one of those things I wish I could really harp on more, but that's where I come from in terms of, why I want to invest, right? Like, in the trades, what do you do when it rains or when inclement weather such as snowstorms or gusts and extreme wind conditions keep you from, will ground you, will shut down a crane? Like, what do you do to make up those days? And for me, one of the most fulfilling things about getting into crypto is being able to roll out of bed and know that I already had tomorrow's paycheck. And where this became sort of, just this wild experience, just neuroplasticity took off, synapses were making connections, and, I knew synapses were making connections and I was changing because I was making abstractions. Like, you're seeing two things over here. Oh, they finally got AI into blockchain. I'm thinking about a P2P network and how to, protect it from basically healing and aggregating information that shouldn't do that. Oh, okay. All of a sudden, next, I'm thinking about sharding during a burn and the application of possibly holo wrapping or holo fusing something on a 50 billion, token burn. That's an abstraction that you won't make unless you know who's burning 50 billion tokens, which is Ripple. Like, this is the way I think now, and I don't really just stare off into space. Like, I'm searching the reference of my mind. And you should come to an understanding that your brain is on which a computer or any supercomputer is based upon. So it's if you want to take things to an extreme, get into brain hacking and doing things different, mental exercises, because that'll be one of the things to help you really gain leverage in the path forward. You should be able to wake up. You're going to go from waking up to seeing paychecks to waking up and seeing salaries, and hopefully be able to follow my steps of retiring early and working because you want to and not working because you have to. And it really does change the relationships you have with others when they start to realize that, like, oh, you didn't ask for anything in return. I genuinely don't, just because I haven't fleshed out my business model yet. But eventually over time I will. And, being a digital asset analyst will become a position, you see at any other, financial institution. But the difference is, though, it's premised on the research, the product offering, and understanding how the asset changes in value over time and what its potential was. I chose Holochain because of its versatility. I chose Holochain because, it's its functionality, 1/10,000th of an ETH. People, anybody's ever traded Ethereum or minted something or bought something that was minted, you start to realize, like, why does the price fluctuate? So, like, I choose Holochain because, well, it's technology that disrupts the market. And guess what? I don't like waiting on things. I remember what it's like to be young and wanting to buy Google stock and wanting to buy Apple stock, wanting to buy Tesla stock, and being too small-minded because I had been conditioned in, a public education system, which was really nothing more than a residential school template. When you look those things up, or if you're Canadian and you can contextualize what I'm saying, was that small-mindedness came from being in the environment I was in. You hear the way in which I speak and you're wondering why, this guy must have came out the gates loaded with a name like Edward. No, I come from very humble beginnings. My father grew up in a rural setting on a clearing of not more than 500 people in a French community out west. I was raised in the city, in community housing. It's, there's, one come up is the next come up, but from rural poverty to inner city poverty, this is where I'm coming from as far as like wanting to have a grasp on my own economic determinants, being able to see through different societal and political arrangements, to where what the government does and what society expects of me to become, right? Like we talk about societal arrangements, for example, you go into your bank, you cannot say, I'm sorry, I'm so Scarborough. I'm sorry. But you can't say like you're a digital asset analyst. You can't say that you handle crypto in any shape, way, or form as far as, your application when opening up a stock investment vehicle. I fought tooth and nail, and I literally had to tell the rep, if they don't want to acknowledge my position as a digital asset analyst, what they can do is, make it part-time. But when they make it part-time, I want you to feel the indignity that I felt as a person of color, explaining to you what I do, where this money that is coming from, and you're going to look at me as if I can't tell you what I am. And it's cool, because in life, I only get to be whatever everyone else decides a black person is. So it's a lot easier for me to tell you that, okay, you know what, I'm just a construction worker and I'm a carpenter. But this money isn't coming from the trades, it's coming from crypto investments. So, and it's part of a business structure that I'm working on, demonstrating validation that I know what I'm talking about by making accurate predictions and picks, not telling people what to buy, but highlighting the value in the product and letting them making the decisions for themselves based on the research that I've made and demonstrated is accurate. It's like you talk about to talk about money, you got to show people the trend lines and signals. People straight up just ask me what's happening, and I tend to be pretty accurate about what's happening and appraisal for long-term positioning. I don't know what it is, but that's my gift to the world, and that's what I stand to gain from, as far as my level of attaining that sovereignty of self. I wish I could recover the essay that I had written. Like, it was beautiful shit. It was 7 paragraphs, and I saved something else over it. I don't even know how to recover it, but I just wanted to highlight to you that the time of day in which you receive your paycheck means that the money is kind of worthless. Not worthless in the sense where it's like, it hasn't lost its value, but you know what I mean? Like, imagine making 20 to 50% gain in the 2 hours before you go to work. And all of a sudden that suddenly becomes a massive windfall by the end of the day, because you know how to lay down lines without having to set trend lines. Like, a lot of my work I do is mental. I don't execute on hitting calculators. I realized within the first day, if I have to punch in any buttons, I lose out, and I'm probably going to short myself in the long run. So now everything happens in real time. I run a spreadsheet, and as the numbers change, I can get an idea as to where it's supposed to be in value. And yeah, I'll take this. This is nice. And I'm mentally working on that to where it's something I can do over time. But like, what are you doing for yourself and to ensure that you stay successful? Like, what mental exercises are you trying to structure as, once you recognize something new, is it something that you need to develop, and you should get comfortable with that. The more synapses you get firing, the better. Like, you got to be creative with your own learning plan in terms of how you're going to take on the crypto sphere, because it's vast. It really is. But once you start to do the research, you're going to become more comfortable in the space, and before you know it, 5 to 10 years from now, you're going to be a leader amongst those that love you, or those who live with you, or who or work amongst you and with you. Like, that's why, I've just jumped gun ho and immersed myself in this. And there's not many questions you can't ask that I won't know, or I won't go out of my way to find the answer to. So, I hope this is kind of helps you see where I'm coming from, because you know what, you're gonna wait for a paycheck, and I totally respect that. I totally understand, but my patience is, like, I've changed completely. Like, I'm still my father's son. I still believe in hard work. You know what I mean? I was about to say, blue collar ethic, all day. But at the same time too, I don't have Stockholm syndrome. So, I know there's a paycheck gonna be there on Thursday. Cool. But it's kind of meaningless to me if I can't make money off of it. Like, basically, like, the weekend is this day, but that paycheck's gotta come out on this day. But I know the value of my money over those 7 days based on the values I'm seeing on those 7 days. So when people are like, yo, it's Thursday, I'm happy I got paid, I really don't give like a flying what about Thursdays or paydays. Like, they're just days to me. They mean nothing until, like, it's in market and it's making money for me. Like, traditional banking is quite dead to me, because if I left money in the bank, it would just be the same money. But when I put money out there into play, and I'm like, which one of you coins is going to be my new savings account? Yo, let's play this game. And in many cases, though, it's not always that, right? I don't like to do that. I prefer long-term hodls. And, based on my strategy, or my strategies, jeez, I don't have the same stress as other people. I really don't. And this is coming from someone who's bipolar. Like, turbulence is supposed to be challenging for me. Instead, I find myself traversing volatility quite easily. So I wonder what where you're coming from and where your senses of conviction are. But I know that where I'm coming from, it's intently on becoming a part of and wanting to play in this tech space. Like, developing fintech skills, soft skills and hard skills. Like, that's where my intentions are. In January, I really want to be developing, and I want to be coding. I encourage you to really get into it as well. Like, you're gonna make a bag, you're gonna make enough money where you can afford to learn these skills. And great, you're still making money, but now, where you're not making no apps. Okay, cool. If that's not you, at least make the bag and still pay somebody to make the app. It's all part of the ecosystem, right? That's the beauty of it. You're not just don't be one dimensional as tech grows. Because if greed is, the source of your governance, you're actually going to hurt this space more than grow this space. And I want you to be conscious of your interaction with tech. Don't just be blinded by the money, okay? Because that's what happened with Facebook, and look what happened to Cambridge Analytica. And now suddenly we're out here trying to own our own data. Think about how you're going to interact in this ecosystem. What is your level of economic determinants going to look like? Do you have a timeline for your sovereignty of self? When do you retire? When do you enjoy life? Do you work because you want to, or do you work because you have to? And eventually, over time, those things will intrinsically guide you. You can go a couple years back, I was really shy of crypto. I didn't want to. I was very risk averse. Now I'm without fear. You know what I mean? Like, just if I know, I know. If I don't, I don't. But I have no fear, and I move accordingly. And I hope, this off season, the bull run is kind to you, and you come out on top. So again, thank you kindly for your time. This has been another episode with BigBlackCrypto. So sorry. I wish I could have retrieved that essay for you. I did not think I was gonna save over top of it. Thank you kindly. Like, subscribe, and comment if you got any comments. and questions, I'll be happy to answer.